but I'm joined now by Michelle Yong, founder and CEO of Core Collective, who have made an incredible name for themselves in Singapore over the past few years as really trying to build an incredible ecosystem of health, fitness and wellness. But we'll get into that a little bit later on, and a number of very interesting questions to answer or to ask of Michelle. Michelle, hi, how are you doing?
Very well, thank you, Ross.
Now, for those that don't know Core Collective, you are probably the best person to give a very quick introduction into the brand and its catalyst for starting.
Sure. So Core Collective tries to facilitate entrepreneurship amongst the top fitness and wellness professionals. We do this by providing a plug-and-play solution where they can rent space from us on a very small bite-sized basis, from wellness rooms, treatment consultation rooms, to gym space, to studio space. And they can also get shared support services. So we help them with a receptionist, phone bookings, appointments, insurance, laundry and all that. It was really inspired by my boxing coach and by my osteopath. They both wanted to start their own businesses, but they found the setup costs too high, too prohibitive. And I thought that co-working could be a great solution to lower the barriers to entry with this sort of plug-and-play solution.
Now, you've developed, in a very short space of time, a very unique ecosystem where it's not just fitness, it's not just wellness, it's not just health, it's a myriad of all of those services. And I think there must be at least 24 different services that you're offering at the moment, I think.
Over 40 different services.
Over 40.
Provided by over 170 professionals at the moment.
Wow. I mean, that is a family in its own right. As you're looking across, I suppose, what's left, obviously there's a range of customers and tenants you could bring in. What's missing from the jigsaw puzzle?
So when we first started, as you said, we wanted to bring fitness and wellness together. From the other point of view, from the professional's point of view, it was to really facilitate entrepreneurship. Yeah. But from my point of view, I was frustrated with the lack of continuity of care, because I was being referred to a physio. A physio would refer me to a Pilates teacher, it would refer me to a chiro, it would refer me to an osteopath, but my case history wasn't being shared and they were not collaborating. So I felt a bit frustrated, and that customer experience could really be improved by bringing these professionals together. And I recently had a baby. I hear Chris also recently had a lot of lockdown babies. But through my journey, I worked with about 8 different professionals who collaborated to give me the best results. During pregnancy, post-pregnancy as well, from the personal trainer to my Pilates teacher to a pelvic floor physio to the osteopath. So that was great. But one part that's missing and that we hope to bring in is the medical professionals. So it would have been great if my OB was also part of that group, and there are a lot of complementarities. So our professionals have expressed interest for us to bring in GPs, orthopedic surgeons, OBs, sports medicine, even aesthetics. And this is one area that we are looking to go into. And we've been approached by a landlord of a medical center to go in, and this is our opportunity, we think, to also provide service to those professionals. Because a lot of office landlords are seeing co-working as a value-added service for the tenants in their building. This particular medical landlord also sees Core Collective as being able to provide that value-added service. They're saying in the current times with so much uncertainty, there are certain tenants who don't want to renew for long-term base. Rather than lose them completely, why not them join Core Collective and they can join on a short-term basis that gives them more comfort.
Let's look at the lens, because I suppose when people are building this ecosystem, their maybe first step would be to look at fitness, dissect fitness into various elements and go after each of those businesses. They would maybe look at wellness and dissect wellness. How have you managed to look at this ecosystem from such a high bird's eye point of view, where you do see all of the ecosystem and its fullest potential? I think that's a very rare vision to have. Was that a vision that was built on, or did you initially see that potential ecosystem?
It was really, we know our place. We are not the specialists. We're not the experts in any one field. Yeah. We are a platform, and we want our platform to be accessible to as wide a range of professionals as possible, to have all the possible services under one roof. And that's why we've even gone into sort of kids' activities, into leisure with our Dempsey location, where we have a forest school, a swimming pool, a cafe. But we don't provide those services ourselves.
Yeah.
And that's why I think the potential of the platform, or the uniqueness, I guess, of the core collective business, is that we can customize the concept for each particular location. So for our CBD location, it's very much targeted at working professionals who want short, sharp, in and out, before work, lunchtime and after work. Whereas Dempsey was more a leisurely place. It's somewhere for the family to go, where I could go into Pilates, my husband could do personal training, my kids, one could be in swim school, one is in forest school, and the other one's doing a music and movement class, which actually does happen with my 4 kids. So, yeah, and then right now a hotel owner has also approached us, and they've got a sanctuary wellness positioning, but they don't have any of the services to make that happen. So we can work with them to come up with all the right services. So they want yoga, they want meditation, they want also like a recovery center, and we can piece that together with as many professionals. The more professionals we have, the better it is, better we are able to customize the offering for the different circumstances.
Now,
So, no
community,
limit.
yeah, community's been a word that's been, we've heard numerous times in the past couple of days, Michelle. You've built a community, and I think that's obviously, it's very obvious from speaking to a lot of your tenants in the building. They feel as if the core collective is a community in amongst itself. How have you fostered that, and how have you continued to foster that kind of collaborative network, not just pre-pandemic, but of course through the pandemic as well?
We actually screen all the professionals before we welcome them to Core Collective. And one of the things that we screen for is their intent to collaborate and their buy-in to community and their genuine care for their craft, for the industry, for their patients. But also as part of the onboarding process, we introduce them to at least 3 other professionals who we see high potential for collaboration with. So that kind of plants the seed. And then we have a lot of activities and programs, like we have an academy program, which is a peer-to-peer learning program where, say, a sports massage person could teach about trigger point therapy, and a TCM about needling, and the personal trainers about specific exercises. So they all can learn from each other. But of course, with current situation, the in-person is limited. So we do more online talks and workshops. It's things that are for people who are transitioning from becoming an employee to becoming their own boss. They might not know about digital marketing. They might not know about CRM systems and client retention and all those kind of business 101 talks and workshops we also put together. And then we celebrate the success stories where people have collaborated and gotten great testimonials. We even have a top referrer award where we do give prizes every month to the residents who are referring to each other.
Let's look at the last 12 months. Everyone has undergone some challenges. Your business is no different. What key business challenges have you overcome, or perhaps even still overcoming at this moment in time, Michelle?
Oh, well, that question, how timely, because we've gone into, what is it called, heightened. Well, with last year with the lockdown, and this was 2 full months where we were closed, we saw our revenues fall 90%. So one of the downsides of being like a pay-per-use model is that revenue is super risky, and we felt that big time. Thankfully, revenues rebounded within 2 months, less than 3 months after reopening. They exceeded pre-COVID revenues. But that is a risk. That is a big risk to our business model. That we're lucky now with the new rules that some of the fitness activities can still continue outdoors, and we do have quite a large outdoor space at our Dempsey location. But yeah, that's something that is worrying. On the flip side, it makes us a lot more attractive to professionals, right? Because they don't have that risk. If they took a full-time tenancy with a traditional landlord and they're forced to close, you still have to pay rent. But with a co-collective, you don't. So we are taking on that risk for them. But that's definitely something that we need to looking to be a bit more mindful of. Another part of the business, I mean, so most of the business rebounded quite strongly, but the group classes have not. And even post circuit breaker, the strict capacity restrictions meant that we were running at less than 50% for most of our classes, which makes it not financially viable for a lot of the group class instructors. So the number of classes that we could offer fell, which means our revenue earning potential for the studios also fell, to the point where we have now to consider how to best re-optimize our space, given that we don't see them easing up on the group class studio restrictions. So that is something that's been hard.
Yeah, it's a real challenge, group fitness. I mean, I think everyone who's got some successful group fitness businesses realise it is such an engagement, it is such a key part of any experience of any facility. The retention, the engagement, the activity for group fitness is unbelievable.
It's the easiest way in as well.
Absolutely.
Because it's,
But it's very, very difficult when the safe distancing makes it almost uneconomical. And we love group fitness. We hope it's here to stay, and no doubt people will be investing in. But very interesting to see how it reformats itself if safe distancing has to continue in a number of locations. Let's look at perhaps some of the other trends that you're seeing. One of the trends that we've just talked about with Chris, of course, and others today has been the urbanization of people working from home, working remotely, versus coming back into the CBD. You've got properties in both. How are you viewing that trend in terms of people coming into either facility?
Oh yeah, we definitely saw a huge increase in the number of visitors to our suburban location in Dempsey. Year on year, I think our visitors tripled pre-COVID. So we were looking at the numbers in like February 2020 versus February 2021, and it increased threefold. The numbers, the visitorship to Anson is still higher because that's a larger space, but that one only increased about 25% in that same year-on-year period. So definitely the work from home means that people are not returning to the CBD as in the way that they used to. But the other upside is that we don't see that seasonality or in the day where it used to be peak periods in the morning before 8:30, 9 o'clock, lunchtime and after work. Now it's quite sort of steady through the day, because people, when they are not on the clock, so to speak, they can control their schedules more, have that flexibility to come in to see their, whether it's a physiotherapist, osteopath, or their trainers through the day. And also the seasonality in terms of the school holidays periods, which are normally very quiet because people can't travel. We didn't see as big a dip in December as you'd expect, and also coming up June, July, again, we're not expecting to see as big a dip as previous years.
Now, you've got a great outdoor space in your Dempsey facility, which I suppose by luck or design has ensured that throughout this kind of mini lockdown, you have the to have outdoor fitness. But maybe just generally on that outdoor space, how important has that outdoor space been, do you think, in the success of the Dempsey studio? Do you think it's a magnet that people are looking to get back into nature, that they feel as if it's a compelling reason to go and visit the facility, they're more comfortable in spaciousness? How has that outdoor space played in your favour?
I think the outdoor definitely contributes to the appeal of Dempsey, but it's also the old building. It's an old conservation building. I think it used to be the mess hall for the officers. Back in the day. The huge old mature trees add to that ambience. So I think it's everything to put together. The food offering from Baker and Cook definitely is also another factor that attracts people and a reason that people stay. So I think it's a collection of things. But what we have seen, a difference between Anson, the CBD location, and the Dempsey locations, Anson has wellness and fitness split across 2 floors. Whereas Dempsey has it all together, and that has worked so much better for building that community and the collaborations, and for the Dempsey community in a way knows each other a lot more because they have that close proximity. That just separates it by 1 floor does change the dynamics a bit. And so we're looking to, or we started to try to overcome this by having Wellness Wednesdays at Anson, where the wellness residents go and camp out on the fitness floor every Wednesday
Brilliant.
to showcase their services, it's one thing to have a physical space. You need the programming to really bring people together. And at Dempsey, you need less of it because they are close proximity versus at Anson. And I think the customers also feel similarly.
Yeah. Let's look at growth, because of course you've had great success with those 2 locations. The question mark now is where next? Domestically, whereabouts domestically, what kind of formats, internationally? Options. Always good to have options. But where do you think the future of Core Collective's growth lies?
Within Singapore, we're hoping to have another 1 to 2 more locations. The idea was always to have multi-premises so that, so actually our professionals, the residents, are 3 buckets. One are the biggest, largest number are the ones who are going from becoming an employee to becoming self-employed. But there's also a high percentage of business owners who like Core Collective because it gives them an easy access into multiple locations without having to sign long leases, without having a high capex spend of setting up. And so we want to continue to offer that sort of proposition by having multiple locations. So, for instance, if you are a chiropractor, Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, you could work out of a CBD location. Tuesdays and Thursdays, you could be at Sentosa. This is one of the ideas. Saturdays, Sundays, you could be at Dempsey. So your catchment becomes so much, broader. So in Singapore, yes, 1 to 2 more. One, as I mentioned, is a medical center that we're in talks with. Another is a hotel owner. And then regionally, we are in discussions to go into Hong Kong. We have some opportunities in Australia. But all these have been very opportunistic in that people are reaching out to us. We are now at the point where we decide we want to be a lot more strategic. So we want to take a top-down, like bird's eye view of the entire region, of the APAC region. Which are the markets that make most sense for us to go into from both a demand and a supply point of view? And where can we find really strong partners? Because we don't have the local knowledge, expertise, and network. And with COVID, with the travel restrictions, that's even more amplified. And so it's a function of demand and supply market conditions, but also where we can find strong partners to help, I guess, increase the probability of success in each of those markets.
Now, I suppose a lot of businesses would consider licensing, franchising as potential access growth, or say options for accessing growth. What are your views on franchising and licensing? Would that be something that you would consider or look at? Yeah,
we're actually doing a project at the moment with Sien from Estream, who I think is on your panel. And we're still very early into it, but it's been very eye-opening. So we said to her we don't want to limit our options, because it might also be that franchising is better in one market versus maybe a joint venture. We're even going as far as let's consider joint ventures or management contract models. So we're still evaluating all the options, but one thing that has become clear is licensing is not appropriate for us, or we are not appropriate for licensing because our business model is too complex, and we do need to be quite actively involved in a number of areas. And so it's an exciting project that we are in the process of doing. We still have a long way to go in getting our operating playbook, our franchise playbook ready. But yes, we are.
Now, you're both in a kind of unique position. You are both tenant and you're both landlord. And let's look at this from a viewpoint of commercial leasing and tenancy agreements. The world's moving on. People are unsure of where to put down money for space. Do they need the space they used to use? Do they need more flexible work arrangements? How is that going to potentially benefit you or not benefit you going forward? What's the feedback that you're getting from your own tenants and their demands and their needs for how they want to position their business going forward?
So on one side of the coin, which is from our, well, we don't call them tenants, residents. Point of view, the appeal of Core Collective has become stronger because of the greater uncertainty due to COVID. People want more flexibility, and co-collective, co-working in general offers that flexibility to scale up or scale down. And so, to illustrate, our residents can start with as low as 10 hours a month. They can buy a package of 10 hours that they can use to book treatment and consultation rooms as and when they have clients. And it goes to 50 hours per month, it goes to half day, it goes to full time. And we have seen quite a lot of our professionals, the residents, go from becoming their own boss to being so successful, they're hiring 1, 2, 3, 4 people under them, and then taking the space full time. But should circumstances change and they wanted to scale back and go back to the hourly package model, there is that option for them, and that's been something that they do value a lot. And in particular, the wellness professionals, we've seen a huge increase in inquiries from the wellness professionals who do have like small clinics that as those leases come to expire, they'd rather not renew those leases, that they'd rather come into a co-working space like Co-Collective. So that is the one side of the coin, but the other side of the coin, which we still haven't figured out, is should we go into forced lockdown, forced closure again, and we are still liable to pay rents, and these are hefty rents to our landlords, and if there's no government mandated support or rent relief that the landlords have to give to us, it is a huge risk. And so with the new contracts that we're trying to negotiate with landlord partners, we want to have a force majeure clause in there that protects us in the event of these forced closures. Not an easy discussion to have, because they themselves, those landlords, have mortgages to pay, and so it's like, where does the buck stop? And you say, oh, if they don't have to pay their mortgages, then the banks also have. So it's just a difficult one.
It's a risk that everyone has to bear, and I think putting it on one particular party is a rather unfair position. But I think that is the situation that many businesses find ourselves in today. Is we are at the mercy of landlords' discretion, landlords' ability to be generous sometimes, which is a very difficult position.
It is, yes.
Now, you're a mother of 4, and also a businesswoman, an entrepreneur. Multiple hats, Michelle. How have you juggled all this? And at the same time, how are you juggling all this and keeping yourself mentally and physically well?
I have a very strong support system. My husband is great, especially with the 2 older boys. So he kind of looks after the 2 older boys, and I look after the baby and the 4-year-old. My parents are great as well. So every Friday I used to send the kids over to their place, and they'd have a sleepover, and then Phil and I can have a bit of a break and like some downtime. But I've actually kind of combined my me time with work, in that Co-Collective is the place I go to decompress. Our kind of philosophy, our vision is we want everyone to leave better, than when they first came in. Yeah. And I do almost always leave better. But because it's also my place of work, I do sometimes get bombarded by questions from residents and feedback and requests, and that can interfere with my decompressing time. But no, I don't think I've found a solution to work-life balance. As an entrepreneur, it is hard to completely shut down, because even weekends and even on holiday, you're still thinking about it. But the team's been great. Actually, when the government first announced the new measures, I was going off on staycation to celebrate my 10-year anniversary with my husband, as well as his birthday, as well as Mother's Day. And they were like, Michelle, you go, leave this to us. We will manage it. And they did, and it gave me great peace of mind to know that the team's so strong and so willing to step up. I think that's the one real silver lining in a way, that COVID has really brought the best out in a lot of people in my team, and it's really forced us out of our comfort zone and forced us to step up and really united us against this common enemy of COVID.
I agree. I think what Chris mentioned earlier, be kind, people being more sympathetic, people being more empathetic to people's challenges. Michelle, thank you very much for a lovely conversation. Really enjoyed having you
Thank
today.
you, Russ.
All the very best for whatever Core Collective does in the future. You will see Core Collective more and more in Singapore, and soon, we hope, internationally, folks. But for now, thank you very much for your time. We'll return after our lunch break, and we'll see you guys very, very soon.